And so it begins. The first expansion for Warcrow, Beyond Winds from the North, is here. Let's take a look. Welcome back to Lindworm Travellers. My name is Hydra, and today we are looking at unboxing of the new Beyond Winds from the North box from Corvus Belli for Warcrow. We're finally there. We're finally starting to get a release of the new stuff. So let's actually have a look at what's in this box. Let's have a look at the miniatures and see how it is all shaping up. First, we start with the cards, and we're going to have a look at the good stuff. For Hegemony to start off with, we have Lady Talia. Again, these are double-sided, as before. We did a deep dive onto this previously, so I'm not going to go too far into the statistics. If you want to see that, link at the top right now. But Lady T is there. Then we have the Pioneers to go with her, both ranged monsters. Then, interestingly, we also have the vanilla version, or the uncharactered version of Lady T in the Gunnery Corporal. 5 points cheaper, loses a command token. We have 1 less wound. We have 2 yellow rather than orangey yellow for the willpower. She loses elite and she loses scout, so she's not doing the infiltrating shenanigans. She loses 1 switch and she loses a red for an orange, so her damage output is slightly less reliable. Again, she goes for a green rather than 2 blues on her defense as well. Headshot's gone and replaced with... Now, these are quite interesting, actually. For me, these are quite interesting. Especially, look at this. So we lose the frightened state, and you get the cancel of 1 hit there. So, yeah, she's a different beast. But let's have a look at these abilities. We have a command token ability to do coordinated fire once per turn, target an allied unit at 7 strides, repeat the dice of your choice from the ranged attack roll just made by that allied unit. So, somebody fires, like some Pioneers, and you don't like the outcome, you can spend a command token with the Gunnery Corporal, as long as they're within 7 strides of her, and then they can re-roll a die. Awesome. I mean, yeah, absolutely, why not? Long range accuracy, it's a passive ability, and so she actually buffs the range of units within 7 strides. She gives them an extra 3 strides of range, which is pretty pokey actually. So our Pioneers are suddenly range 13. Yeah, and if you decided to take a Gunnery Corporal and Lady Talia, you could buff Lady Talia to be 18 strides, which is quite a substantial amount of the board, to be honest with you. She can also jump into a squad. She can join a squad, become attached. Now, in my opinion, she's interesting by comparison to Lady Talia. She possibly does better attached to a squad than Lady T does. Because you see, Lady T has a... she gets 1 to her conquest value when she's on her own, and 0 when she's attached. The Gunnery Corporal is the other way around. It's 0 when she's on her own, plus 1 when she's attached. So you are incentivized to attach her there. She gives +1 morale to a unit that she joins. She gives a switch to cancel defenses. You can push her to gain a hollow hit, which... interesting, okay. You get the long range accuracy, so you increase the range of that unit by 3 strides just by having her in there. And you can do the command token ability to roll an attack dice that your unit's just made. So it stops being a army-wide buff and starts being just for that unit. But actually, that's quite pokey. 25 points. Kind of like that, actually. Just going to point out as well that we have this update as well on the cards, so that the units now contain a little meeple with a number next to them, so you know how many miniatures are in a unit of that particular type. So that is our Hegemony. Looking good. We knew they were ranged. Focus camera, damn you. Come on. Behave. Thank you. So we know the Hegemony, ranged monsters, they've got infiltration, apart from the Gunnery Corporal, who actually is a little buffing monster. She will help a specific squad get more shootier, which is never a bad thing. Especially when you're facing the monsters that are. So again, we have the skin changes in Yord. We know all about them. Again, we've got a little number down the bottom corner there for the skin changes, which is fab. Apologies for the camera. I'm trying something new with this and seeing how it works, and so I'm getting used to it. Bear with me on that one, please. So again, we have the vanilla version of Njord, or the non-character version. The Hezir. Now, he is actually, I'm going to put him next to Njord so we have a good comparison. He is 15 points cheaper, so he is substantially cheaper. He's slower. He loses a command token. He loses a wound. He loses a morale. He loses elite but gains fearless. He loses the conquest value but gains it down the bottom. So the same actually as the Gunnery Corporal. On that front, substantially less damage output, which is to be expected. We've lost a command ability. We have lost both of the passives as well and gained this one. So when you apply Berserker range, add an extra symbol of your choice to your roll. So yeah, could buff output on this guy, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But again, it's pretty good when you add him to a unit, actually. Not just for the conquest value, but actually he adds a hit. You can push him for another hit. You can use a switch with 2 full exclamations to remove a successful defense, and you can do a hollow hit to give the opponent disarmed, which is pretty good. We like that. Not one step back. When your unit fails a whip test, your unit passes automatically. The whip test it just failed. So you can spend a command token to basically auto-pass a failed whip check, which is good. Which is nice. And die killing, your unit gains Berserker range. So he goes into a unit and they all gain Berserker range. So yeah, the non-named character versions of the units in this box definitely seem to be buff machines rather than the pure damage dealers that they were. Now, I've had a look at these miniatures beforehand. Full disclosure, I shot this last night, and for some reason it shot the video in 640 by 480. So that was exciting. So let's have a look at the minis. There is, if I can work my hands, Lady Talia. Come on, focus on me. So these are quite nice. There are no real mold lines on here that I can see. We've got a couple of bits of sprue to cut off and a slightly wonky gun that's going to need to be straightened out, but that's not necessarily a huge issue. By a stretch of imagination, she looks good. Continues the trend of people in Hegemony who can't wear coats. They have to put them on their shoulders because fancy. But yeah, that's a nice sculpt. It's in good condition. I'm happy with that. Let's have a look at Njord, who is of course a chonky boy because he's a Varank, and Varank are chonky boys. How many pieces are you in, Njord? You are in 5 pieces. This is looking good. It's looking nicely detailed. I don't see any issues with it in any way, shape or form yet. We need to cut it off. It needs a little bit of straightening out. But by comparison to some of the stories that we've heard out there, some of the stuff that's coming out with Winston North, this is looking very clean. Must remember not to cut the ear off when I clean this guy up. But actually, I'm not actually seeing any lines on it at all. On him at all, which is fab. Let's have a look at this Varank skin changer that I got out last night, because look at the size of her. She's absolutely monstrous. As a miniature, she's huge. But again, we've got some bits that need cutting off, maybe a little bit of straightening on these punch daggers, because they're a little bit wobbly, a little bit soft. But the details are nice, they're crisp. I'm not seeing any issues or errors here. There's one little mold line down there, which I'm going to have to tidy off. Sharp blade time. and potentially a sanding file. Yeah, and come on, we'll open a Pioneer, because you can't just have 2 Northern tribes looked at. That would be rude. Let's have a look at a bit of dwarf goodness, and it's Samwise. And how do we know it's Samwise? Because he's got his frying pan on his back. Where are we at? Yeah, they're nice. They're nice. The weapon is nice and flat, straight. A couple of bits to be trimmed. Nothing horrific. Again, no real mould lines on this guy. Needs to get a little bit chopped off of his hair, but yeah, overall, these are looking really nice. I'm really impressed with these. I'll put these together and stick them up on Instagram, so you guys can have a look. But yeah, that is Beyond Winds to the North. As we discussed in the last video, this doesn't get us to 250, but with a couple of additions, the next set of releases, and another set of each of the basic line troops, for these factions, we're going to be at 250. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And I'm really pleased actually with the quality of these. I know that there has been some issues. There's no point in saying there hasn't. People have had issues with bits and pieces of the Winds to the North, but actually these are phenomenal. These are looking really, really good. I was lucky I didn't have any issues with my Winds to the North. Aside from actually my evoker, who needed to get replaced. Having said that, I did have an issue, but not any of the ones that other people are experiencing. So these look great, and I hope this is a sign of what Corvus Belli is going to do with the CO cast coming forward, and they're all going to be like this, but we shall see. For now, that is everything. If you are not a member, please consider joining up. It helps us and supports us growing and developing the channel. Thank you, of course, as ever, to all of our members and our patrons. You guys rock, and the mighty Joe Rogers gets his shout out, of course. But for now, that's everything. Please do like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you think of this set. Let us know how you're getting with Warcrow and how your games are going. And we will see you all again soon. Goodbye.